it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here in the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. And Pierre, this is our last live broadcast before we do our next one in Dublin, Ireland for the Friendship Four and then on to Belfast from there. Of course, earlier today, and you guys can all watch it tomorrow, we had a great interview with Boston University head coach Jay Pandolfo, who will be on our flight to Ireland on Sunday night on the Red Eye. It was great. So you can check that out on Campus Friday tomorrow. Remember, when you're watching it, we can't answer your questions because it's pre-recorded. So, but we can answer them today. So get them lined up. We got a great show in store for you. Jeff Merrick from Out of Hiding will be joining us. He's got a new gig. He's going to tell us all about it. We're excited to see him. Always one of our favorite guests, and we'll bounce around the NHL with a variety of topics there. And Pierre, one topic I know that we want to get to, and we'll definitely discuss again with Jeff Merrick, is the White Cloud hit on Nyes last night in the Toronto game. There is a lot of different opinions flying around on this hit right now. And actually, as I just text to you, the head of the discipline will be joining Amazon Prime tonight at 7 p.m. to discuss Rule 48. Now, Pierre, I know your thoughts on this. Yep, hit to the head. Regardless of anyone's thoughts on that, I do want to give George Parros, who's going to speak tonight on this, him and the NHL credit, because this is the first time I can remember any of the head of disciplines coming on to discuss a controversial rule or hit. You don't see that much except in their videos that they produce, but you don't see them come out and talk about it news-wise. So I'll give them a little credit there, just at least to give some clarity to everybody. But Pierre, I look at this. I've looked at it from every angle. Clean hit in my eyes.
You asked me early this morning, and I told you, you asked me early this morning. I'm not deviating from it. It's a clean hit. I mean, if you want to legislate hitting out of hockey, then go ahead and do that. That's fine. Then that's not a clean hit. That's a clean hit. If you've ever been a defenseman at a high level and played the game at a high level, you know that's a clean hit. And I hate to blame the victim, but Matthew Nyes is going to learn a lesson.
Yeah.
Your job there is
he's like this.
Gain the red line, chip it deep. You don't have to wire it, just chip it deep. Wire it, just put it past that defenseman, get it deep, get off the ice, get it changed. That's all you got to do. He was trying to make something out of nothing. And I get that. There's the exuberance of youth. And he's a big, strong, strapping lad, and he's fast. He's really a powerful skater. But you just found out that sometimes there's a bigger, meaner dog in the valley.
Yeah.
And Zach Whitecloud is a tough kid. He's not anybody that says Zach Whitecloud's a dirty player has never watched him play. He's a clean, honorable, hardworking, industrious player.
Yep.
That was not a dirty play. That's what he's coached to do. Mm-hmm. You hear everybody say gap control. There was a perfect example of gap control.
The one thing people are trying to argue, Pierre, and I disagree with it, but this is this is what they believe. The people that are saying this was a dirty hit or a bad hit are trying to say he left his feet. He didn't leave his feet. What he did, and I can't do it because I'm sitting right now, but Pierre, he went into the hit, but he's not going up in the air. He's just moving forward, going into the hit. And what else is he supposed to do? If you're trying to hit somebody, you're gonna freeze up. You're gonna back up. No, you're going forward. That's it. And Nyes puts his head down. I mean, what's he supposed to do there? I don't know how else he could have avoided that contact to the head. I don't.
I sent you a hit from a college hockey game from this weekend.
Yep.
What was it dirty?
I know. Exactly. No.
Was it dirty?
No.
No.
Nope.
Was it clean?
No. I mean, yeah, it was clean.
The player thrust from his position forward to put the attacking player down?
Yes.
And it was in open ice, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And nothing was caught. I know.
It's the same play. That's why I sent it to you. Except one guy was playing defense inside his blue line because it was a 3-on-2. The other guy is stepping up because he's got the gap.
Yeah.
But that's why I sent that to you, Jimmy, so you could see. And that's exactly it's the same play, just at a different position on the ice.
Yep, with you not. But Pierre, that game though, let's talk about Matthew Nyes' team, because you and I have been saying this, ever since they hired Craig Berube, and we've been kind of monitoring and seeing if his approach is settling in, and, are they going to play his style, and can certain players that aren't used to that style play that style? Pierre, who's jumping in there when Nyes was on the ice?
Lots of guys.
Yeah, but who was front of the pack?
But he's been amazing. Johnny T's been tremendous, especially when Auston Matthews has been out. He's been outstanding. Yep. Mitchell Marner's gone to a whole other level. But here's the thing, and this is for all our friends in the media. Watch games. Yep. I heard a line last night. Well, we haven't seen the Leafs block this many shots in forever. Did you watch the game on Saturday night against Edmonton?
Yeah.
They're blocking shots every night.
No.
So I just want people, I don't want the fans to get bad intel. Right from the start of the year, they've all been all about playing smart team defense and sacrificing for one another. And when you get a player like Christopher Tanev, he's a matchup player. He's going to block shots. You get a player like Simon Benoit, he's going to step up and block shots. And I can say this, and I mean this, and I like the kid a lot. I've been watching Oliver Ekman-Larsson for a long time. And as much as he played well last year in Florida, this is the best, Jimmy, that he's ever played.
I agree.
This is the best, not in Arizona, not in Vancouver, in Florida last year in particular, he was good. This is the best he's played, Jimmy. This is the best he's played.
Is he a 1 year? Look at this up. Is he? No, he's 4 years. Okay.
Yeah, he would sign as a free agent.
Yeah, but I want to go back to JT though. He's the leader of the pack. I mean, they're playing pack mentality, and this is a guy who usually Pierre doesn't. He's physical, but he's not known to do stuff like that.
No, he's a competitor, man.
I love it. I love the way he played this year.
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
Season too. I don't know, Pierre, if he's never going to admit it, and I'm not trying to speculate. I don't know if it was a weight on him to have that C. Who knows? Whatever happened in this offseason, though, he looks revitalized. I mean, he's like reborn out there, and obviously he's in a contract year. I get it, but I mean, he's really leading both physically, with his skill, vocally. I love watching him this year.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good for we thought going in when Berube was hired that they made the proper adjustments and that the team is going to be a lot more reliable when it comes to playoff situations. They win a 3-0 game last night. They win against a pretty stout Edmonton team on Saturday night. They're winning in a lot of different ways. The goal by Marner on Saturday was spectacular, especially when it comes off of a great defensive read. So there's a lot of positives happening there. I hope Nyes is okay. I think he is, but I hope he's okay because he's one of the guys that really matters there.
Yeah,
he really does. It matters a lot.
And you talk about, too, that game against Edmonton. One thing I noticed, too, and we'll move on from the Leafs after this, but they rebound from setbacks within games now. Like, they didn't always do that. Watching them last year and seeing them in the playoffs at times, when the momentum would shift, they didn't have an answer. And they seem to have that more within a shift, within a period, and within a game.
Well, I think part of it is the players are captive because they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed by what's gone on for the last 7 or 8 years for the ones that have been around that long.
Yeah,
it's either one and done or done, and it's no good, and that's way below where they should be. There's a little bit more moxie there. I like what you said, Jimmy, because I think you're right on about it. I really do.
And by the way, a good friend of mine, Brendan, he texted me today. He said, "Man, was Pierre right about the Leafs? I never would have thought what he said about them in the beginning of the season, but he's like, he was dead on." So there you go.
All I know is I know Berube really well. And I love the people that he's brought in. Like Lane Lambert's a good hockey man. He is. He's a Stanley Cup winning coach. I know it didn't work out the way he wanted with the Islanders. It's a tough roster. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum. But he's a real good fit on that staff. I think Mike Van Ryan's one of the better guys coaching defenses in the National Hockey League. I said that when he was coaching in St. Louis. He's another Stanley Cup winning coach. And then obviously you got Berube, who's the Stanley Cup winning head coach. I've walked in that situation, and you bring that Stanley Cup winning pedigree, whether you did it 30 years ago or whether you did it 5 years ago.
It holds weight.
It freaking matters, man.
Yeah, it does.
You see the places most people can only dream about. They've never been there. And they can pretend they've been there, but they've never been there. And eventually they get exposed when they pretend they've been there.
Well, that's a beautiful segue because before we get Jeff on here, Pierre, I want to just tell you about the Bruins right now. A lot of people, I'm going on radio hits, they're saying, well, what can they do player-wise? What can they do player-wise? You know what I said? They don't have a lot of Stanley Cup experience on that team anymore. They need more guys that either have rings or have made it to the final. That's what they need to do. They can't revamp the team. They probably can't make some huge shakeup trade because of the cap and everything, but identify leaders on other teams that are maybe in the final year of their contract and try to bring them in to kind of change the dynamic a bit of the locker room. What do you think of that?
Like it. Bring energy, bring some enthusiasm. The Montreal Canadiens under Sam Pollock and Frank Selke Sr. before him. And I don't want to hear from people saying, no, it was 40 or 50 or 60 years ago. Buzz off.
It's still
a Stanley Cup's a Stanley Cup, so just go buzz off. And it was harder to win in a 16 league.
Mm-hmm.
So all I'm going to say is this, and I mean this sincerely. The Canadiens would always try to bring in one player every year that had never won or had been close to winning to bring energy to their team. One year they brought in Glenn Sather.
Oh, wow.
Never forget it. They brought in Glenn Sather. And everybody in Montreal's like, what are you bringing Glenn Sather in for? You know what? I'm going to get Glenn to come on the show.
That'd be great.
I'm going to call Glenn up. And I really like him. I've been fortunate to have a very nice relationship with him. I respect him a ton. I actually coached against him as a head coach and beat his ass in Edmonton. It was a day of the Lillehammer Olympics starting. Freddie Brathwaite was a goalie in Edmonton. And that's
wow. I remember Freddie Brathwaite.
He was a competent goalie.
Yeah.
Very athletic. Very, very athletic goalie. Anyways, long story short, Glenn got brought into Montreal. And he was brought in because the management thought the players were a little bit They were lacking in something. And Glenn came in and brought some energy, and they ended up winning the cup.
What year was that? Was that 75?
Yeah. That's what
I'm looking. I see it right there. Yep.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
You're trying to expose me, fact check me, but you'll never get it right.
No, I knew. I just wanted to see what year it was, Pierre. I wouldn't do that to you.
I'm only joking with you. You're my partner. You know what? I want to tell you this before we get going to Jeff Merrick.
Yep.
It's been a cruddy day here in the Boston area.
We're lucky it's not snow.
No kidding. I agree with you.
We would have been
buried. I've been doing all kinds of different work because I'm working a college game on Sunday, and then it's a quick turnaround to go with you, and you do all these different things for different entities. And I was saying, you know what I'm really looking forward to in this stinky day in Boston? Working with Jimmy on the I'm telling you the truth. So I wanted to start the show. I was saying, Jimmy, you know what? This has been like a reprieve. I couldn't wait to get going with you today.
It really is.
Partnership. Really good.
I appreciate that too, Pierre. And it's the same. The feeling's mutual. This is my favorite part of the day. Unless I'm seeing my daughter on that day, this is my favorite part of the day. So
we're on the same page.
And I want to tell the listeners and viewers too, they're a big reason for that as well. We love talking to them 100%. And taking questions from them. But just one more thing on the Bruins there, Pierre. So they had their first practice under Sacco. He's going to Corpusalo tonight against Utah. I like it.
I think that's what's the best way to describe that? That's to get someone's attention. And it's not the media or the management. It's to get someone's attention. There's a new sheriff in town. You're not getting a free pass.
Yeah. And I'm wondering, Pierre, and you can't change the past, but, being the reporter and me in hindsight's 2020, you look back, if Jimmy Montgomery had done that a couple nights ago, is he still coach right now? Because there's no arguing. They're playing better in front of Corpusalo right now. That's just it.
I don't like the way the team's playing, Jimmy. I just they got it. Something was wrong. Now, I personally, I can't wait to talk to Jeff about it because Jeff's really plugged in. But I'd say I don't like the construction of the roster. And I told you that last summer, Jimmy. I'm not going to change.
No.
I didn't like the free agent signings. I told you that, and it's nothing personal against those guys. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. And on the other side of that game, quickly before we get, do we got Jeff? Oh, we do. We'll get to this after, my friend. No problem. All right, let's bring in Jeff Merrick.
Hey, boys.
Back in action in the hockey media scene. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Jimmy. How you doing, Pierre? Hello. I called you a couple of seconds ago. I'm outside the Stronach Center in Aurora, Ontario. My two kids were skating. I wanted to get them in the background to have that ambient sound, but the Wi-Fi is awful. So Jimmy, I'm in the car in the parking lot.
Jimmy, just so you know, like Aurora, Ontario is like a hockey capital. There's a little school there called St. Andrews. Pretty good hockey.
You know it.
Pretty
you
good
know it.
Players coming
Is
out
that
of
in
there.
the GTA area, guys?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
a little bit north of the city, a little bit
Okay.
north of Toronto.
A little north.
Dave, the gentleman's name who runs the program there is Dave Manning. He's a proud Maritimer. They do a great job. Well, you look at Steinberg in Colorado, like he's a product of St. Andrews College.
Yep.
The Boston Bruins just drafted a hulking figure out of Dean Letourneau. They just drafted out of St. Andrews College. Once upon a time, like it was just this tiny little secret, but so many players, you know, Pierre will tell you, Jimmy, so many guys from like your Robert Thomases to your Dean Letourneaus have gone through St. Andrews College. First of all, the La Briere arena there, which the La Briere family wrote one check for the whole thing. It is a beautiful rink. It's a gorgeous campus. And the rink, I'm sorry, Pierre, I'm hogging all this airtime here.
No.
Pierre can tell you about St. Andrews College. It is a nugget. It is a secret that is starting to no longer be a secret, because every year, all of a sudden, St. Andrews College is cranking out these high-end prospects.
By the way,
it's not so much of a Canadian secret anymore.
We bring you on because of these fountains of information you provide, Jeffrey.
I don't know.
I want to date
you up in heaven with all these nuggets.
I want to date myself.
Yep.
Back in the 1970s, Lower Canada College and St. Andrews were very heavy rivals. So I played in that St. Andrews Lower Canada College rivalry many moons ago.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yep.
Did Greg Hotham play with that St. Andrews team? Was Hotham on that squad? Because he would have been, like, if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Greg Hotham might have been the first to graduate from St. Andrews and play in the NHL. To my knowledge, he might have been the first one.
I'm going to say, like, this took place, I'm going to say 75 to 77, right in there.
That's Hotham. That's great. Then I think he had two kids later on that went on to play with the Barrie Colts. Many years.
All I know is it was a hell of a rivalry back then when I was playing. It was really good. But
I'm looking at the hockey DB now, guys. Actually played for the Aurora Tigers as well.
Yeah.
Yep, that's now the Aurora Tigers are a junior A team, tier 2 loop. Okay. Always good. The minor hockey program in Aurora is really vibrant, really good. It's a AA center, like where I'm from in Stouffville, Uxbridge. Really, really high quality hockey coming out of there.
This guy is a hockey aficionado, and I love having him on. It never bores me to talk with Jeffrey.
Pierre, you know what my secret is, and you know it. If you're not sure of something, say it loud. Yeah. And people think you know what you're talking about.
Perfect. Well, you're going to be saying it loud soon, Jeff, and we're happy to hear you got a new podcast coming out. When are you going to start slinging these biscuits?
December 2nd, although I put out a little bit of a teaser this morning. Yesterday sat down to have an interesting conversation with Mr. McKenzie. He is the head of the CHL. Dan McKenzie has now been the president of the Canadian Hockey League for 5 years, and in that time he's seen 3 new commissioners come in the Western League, the Quebec League, and the Ontario League as well. And now, of course, the overarching story is the NCAA redefining athletes in the CHL and allowing those, as your audience fully knows, that don't have NHL contracts to play Division I hockey. Where is this all going to end up? There's a fog over all of it. I think all of us are sort of speculating and wondering what this is going to mean for players, for coaches, for programs, for operators, you know, for the future of the development of hockey players graduating into the NHL and elsewhere. And so that's up there and available now. It's a quick little half an hour conversation, but beautiful. I mean, listen, Dan's a fascinating guy with a strong sports marketing background coming from NBA Canada, been at the helm now for 5 years, and now is able to really sink his teeth into something that's going to, you know, redefine junior hockey in Canada and redefine Division I stateside. Yeah. Although, let me throw this at you guys. I had a conversation with someone the other day. You know, 2 of the elite U Sports programs in Canada, the Golden Bears and University of New Brunswick Reds. Could you see a day where they become Division I hockey schools?
Hey, Simon Fraser tried to do it. You know,
bingo. Yes,
Simon Fraser tried, And I would not be surprised if they were given admittance. Why wouldn't Hockey East want to take a team from the Maritimes? It makes it easier for the University of Maine. It's not that far from Vermont. I mean, or even New Hampshire. So I could see that. And in the West, especially with the way it's growing and the Golden Bears, Jimmy, I'm just telling you, go look at all the coaches that have worked there. Look at Derek Ryan's playing in the NHL right now.
Yes.
He's with the Edmonton Oilers. He's a proud Golden Bear alum. So I'm with Jeff Merrick on this. Jeff, you made a really good point about, the future and where it's going. We just had a commitment today. Donovan McCoy.
Yes.
Is leaving the Sudbury Wolves at the end of this year, and he's going to Providence College.
So
there's some good players going to be leaving junior and going to play down in the States.
So that's one of the things. So I'm glad you got me here, Pierre, because this to me is fascinating. Now, Donovan McCoy was traded last year from the Peterborough Pizza, Sudbury Wolves at trade deadline. Defenseman.
Won a Mem Cup.
Won a Mem Cup. So he's the first sort of high profile under all of this. But one of the things that, and I talked to Dan McKenzie about this yesterday, one of the things we wonder about now is kids leaving early, and how difficult is it now? Like if you're promising to if you're vying to host the Memorial Cup, guys, one of the things you have to provide, do we have the suitable arena, suitable finances, suitable accommodations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you also have to promise the team. Like, are you going to have a competitive team? This is all done in concert with, Dan Marr and Colin Campbell, and trying to, say, okay, is this team going to be Memorial Cup worthy enough? If you're the Medicine Hat Tigers, for example, they have Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the first overall pick next year, and we all know. How can you guarantee now that he is able to go, whether it's BU, Wisconsin, Michigan, take your pick, everyone's going to want him. How are you going to be able to guarantee that he's going to be on that Medicine Hat Tigers team next year? Like, it's just a wrinkle that you throw in here. Well, here's what I wonder about, Pierre. Okay, so here's what I wonder about. Now, I'm not going to say who the player was, but there was a relatively recent first round draft pick in the NHL who had to make that decision between playing in the CHL and playing Division I. Ultimately, he decided to play Division I, but he proposed something interesting. He said, I will join your CHL. I'm trying to be as vague as I can here. I will join your CHL team if I can transfer my academic scholarship to a family member.
Ooh.
Could that be on the table?
Why not?
Well, right now you can't. Like,
that would be a good.
That's a great idea.
Why not? Right?
That'd be good. That's brilliant. That's a great compromise. So I want to ask Jeff this. There was a player who played in the NHL a long time. He was such a good player that one of the leagues, and I won't tell you which one, and I know Jeff knows the player. They called his family up and they said, we'll let you go to whatever team you want in our league. You just have to tell us which one. And that way we'll make the draft so that they pick first. And the family said, no, we're not going to do that. And the kid ended up going to play Division I, and he had an amazingly distinguished NHL career. But I liked what Jeff Merrick just said. I think that's so smart. Transfer scholarship. That's really good.
Yeah, because any first round pick in any of the drafts, so Quebec League, the OHL, and the West, they're not going to use their academic package.
Yeah,
like they're not.
Right.
But you be able to use that as an asset to transfer to a sister or a brother or someone else in the family. Does that make it more attractive?
I think it does, actually. I like that a lot. Jeff, I'm going to just say this from personal experience. My son was drafted by Blainville Boisbriand.
Yep.
And had the rules been like they are now, I would have let him go as a 16-year-old to go play there. I would have. I honestly would have, because he would have gone. I know where he would have lived with my mom, and I know where he would have gone to school. So I would have, if the rules had been like they are now.
Sure.
And I'm glad that the rule has changed. Now,
did you have conversations with Giguère about, like, was that, because I'm always curious about the pitch. Like, how deep were the conversations?
Joel Bouchard was the owner of the team at that point, and he was great. He was really good. He brought us aside after camp, and he said, we'd like to do this, and we're playing an exhibition game tomorrow. I thought maybe it was the next day up in Gatineau. And I said, Joel, I can't let him stay because once he plays one game, it's over. I'm not doing that. But his pitch was excellent. His pitch was outstanding.
Can I share a quick Joel, one of my favorite Joel Bouchard stories? Because I love Joel. You know Joel's one of the great personalities of the game. Jimmy, you'll love this one. So this would have been 2017 Quebec League final. The St. John Sea Dogs were like a stack team. And they went out and loaded up at the deadline, picked up Gauthier, and they're already a stack team. And they're facing off against Blainville-Boisbriand in the final, and they scotched them the first 3 games. They're playing game 4 at home, and instead of a morning skate, Joel Bouchard took all the boys to church to pray. Instead of the skate, said, "We need divine intervention. We're not getting on the ice, boys. We're all good." And Pierre, you know Joel. You could see him doing that.
I could.
He took the whole team to church.
Did they win?
No, they got stopped.
They didn't win.
The Sea Dogs were outstanding.
Was Drew Batherson on that team for Blainville? Was Drew?
No, you know who was Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Because they made the trade with Cape Breton.
Okay.
While we're on this topic, Jeff, before we veer away from it, just what's the vibe been up in Canada about the whole new rules and everything? Because we're so focused down here on the college side. I'm wondering what the vibe and the reaction is of fans, coaches, owners. What's the general consensus you're getting?
Operators are a little bit concerned because they're concerned about losing 19-year-olds. Like the 08, like one of the side effects of all this, like I think a lot of us wonder if junior hockey in Canada at the major junior level is going to get younger. Instead of a 16 to 20 league, is it a 15 to 19 league, knowing that there's going to be a lot of 19-year-olds that end up leaving to go play Division One. Like honestly, Jimmy, I think like many of us, myself included, I think everybody just has questions. Like, what does this mean? How is this going to work? How is first of all, it's good for players, and I think everyone's starting to as the fog starts to lift on this issue, I think people are understanding that from a development point of view, like Pierre just mentioned, with his son, this could have been a really good development model for him. Play some major junior, get in all those games, and then make the jump to play against older competition and some tougher competition in Division One. I think we're starting to see that this is a model that is long overdue. And it's going to end up making better athletes. It's going to develop players, I think, that much better for the NHL. A lot of logistics need to be worked out. The NHL-CHL agreement has to be completely redone in light of all this. But I think as a sort of vague way to answer your question, nobody really knows how to feel because no one knows what this is going to end up looking like. Like we all have an idea of what it's going to mean, but I always wonder about the law of unintended consequences. And I know I'm missing something. Right? I know that there's something here that I'm missing. I just don't know, obviously, what that thing is. And I do wonder, like a lot of us, like who gets caught up in the gears of history? Right away, we're starting to see a little bit of attrition from the USHL. What is it going to mean for that, for Glenn Heffron's league? What's this going to mean for the BCHL as well, who remove themselves from the Hockey Canada side of things, the Hockey Canada program, to grab Tier 2 kids from all over the country? What's that going to mean for their league? Are they going to be caught up in the quote-unquote gears of history, or are they going to end up being okay? We don't know the answer to any of that. And I think a long-winded answer here is we don't know. All we have is a lot of questions.
Those are all really good points, those salient points. I think the USHL is probably going to lose a couple teams. I think Jeff knows. I'd be shocked if Muskegon didn't go in. I'd be shocked if Youngtown didn't try to join.
They did. They asked Pierre. I reported that about a month ago. I could tell you for a fact they inquired. They inquired about joining the OHL.
And I think if you look at the BCHL, again, I can speak from experience. My son played in Penticton. That's a model franchise. And that's got amazing ownership. And Freddie Harbison's as good a hockey man as there is in Canada. And I think when they merge with the AJHL, I think some teams in the AJHL, I think they kind of knew, Jeff, that this kind of could come. This could happen. Yeah. And I think they're kind of protecting their turf with that. But I think you're right. There's going to be unintended problems that come out of this. But I think it's more positive for most people than it will be negative.
Yeah.
I agree overwhelmingly with that. And I just think again, this is all supposed to be about the development of the player. This is a much saner model. And you know what? You know who all of a sudden has some of the I shouldn't say easiest, it's a tough job, but an easier job now? CHL scouts.
100%.
Because now you don't have to think, okay, is he going to go here? Is he? No, you know the model and you know where they're going.
Yeah,
you've talked to these guys that have been like, whew, my job just got easier. Yeah. It did. It really did.
I agree
with you on that. Jeff, just quickly back to the podcast there. If you just want to plug it, we'll get into more. So how did it come about?
It's a pretty quick conversation once my non-compete was over. And we kick it off on December 2nd. It'll be available live on YouTube at our Daily Face-Off channels, and then available wherever you get your podcasts, so your Apple Pods, your Spotify's, etc. And I look forward to luring you guys on.
Here's a question I have for you, because you're everything hockey. I'm a big believer in the Toronto Maple Leafs. Are you?
Mm-hmm.
I am. I do have some significant concerns about Auston Matthews, though. That is
weird situation.
It's like.
Wow.
Everyone is so vague about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like we've seen Matthew. I know you guys know Auston Matthews. He is incredibly private about his injuries, his body, etc. Does not like any of that information. Athletes generally don't in the first place, but he's very, very private about it. Mm-hmm. This one, I don't know. This one doesn't. Again, this is just me, not based on any insider information. But given the nature of the work he's getting done on himself, I do wonder about the nature of what this injury could be.
Yeah, do you find it strange? I know he spent time playing in Switzerland, and I know he knows people overseas. A red flag went up for me when he
mid-season
going to Germany. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of players that have been hurt and they've used different kinds of treatments and gone to see different doctors, but they never went to Germany to go see a doctor.
The one thing, too, you mentioned the word vague, Jeff. It's brought me right back to that first-round series with the Bruins last year, because that defined vague, the way they were handling his injury there and just everything that went on with him. And he's taken a PR beating as well, when maybe, he doesn't really need to. I just can't help but wonder if they're connected. If there's something that happened and it's just lingered and lingered and lingered, and now they're like, well, maybe we should have done something about this. And that's just, that's just me speculating, but it is very strange the way this thing is kind of unfolded.
The one thing through all of it, though, much like we saw with, Crosby and Malkin, all of a sudden Marner's game's at a different level.
Oh, yeah.
Like this, talk about ringing the bell at the right time. Pierre smiling because he knows. talk about opportunity knocks, and you leap through. Mitch Marner is hitting it at the right time.
Yeah,
and he's playing great.
How about JT this year as well, Jeff? I mean,
he's already on a revenge tour, and he's still playing for the team. He's supposed to have revenge. Don't you think that he's like, okay, take the C off. Okay, that's good. I got to snap home 40, just like breaking sticks. But here's the thing about John Tavares that I still love. Still love him in front of the net. Still love him along the boards.
Yep.
I mean, you know how much this guy values winning board battles. I know, the open ice is not always the kindest to John Tavares, but in those areas that we always talk about, like the hotly contested, the front of the net, along the boards, I'll take that guy all day long.
So before the season started, I said to Jimmy, probably the best under-the-radar free agent signing was Anthony Stolarz. Who the hell scouted him for Toronto? Because I couldn't believe it when they got him.
He was right in their backyard playing for the London Knights, but I'll tell you, Pierre, he did not look like this.
No.
He did not look like this. He's like so much of what the Maple Leafs have done this year has been Anthony Stolarz. Now, Joe Woll was excellent last night against the Vegas Golden Knights, and that was a real nice shutout. But I think a lot of people are wondering, okay, by the end of the season, I mean, listen, Joe Woll's his most vicious enemy is the hospital bracelet. We all know that. Yeah, I think we're all wondering if by the end of the season, if Anthony Stolarz is the number one guy in Toronto.
Well, at worst, it gives Woll rest, that he likely would have got if Stolarz wasn't this good. Looking around the league, obviously the news out of my area here, Jeff, just are you surprised that Jimmy Montgomery is no longer the coach of the Boston Bruins?
Stunned. Whenever you see a situation like this, I think you have to ask yourself one question. Is the issue coaching or is the issue composition?
I think
Does anybody really look at this and say the issue is coaching?
No.
Jimmy,
No.
we never rehearsed this.
No.
Jeff,
I know.
you and really
Did I-
talked.
Jeff,
Was I just in an echo chamber with you, Pierre?
Yeah,
Did I say the
We're
same
so
thing?
on the same page. We're
It's like,
so on the same page.
it's like Twitter for rehearsing. Yeah, it's look, the thing we said, and Pierre said it right off the get-go, right when they signed them. I hope they don't slot these guys higher than they should be. They're pumping them up pretty high right now. And voila, they try to treat Lindholm like he's a 1C. They try to treat Zadorov like he should be on the top pairing, and it doesn't work. And look where they are now. I mean, they're where they should be right now. And I think they will play a little better because they're slotted correctly. But you're behind the 8 ball now because you really thought you had something that you don't.
Listen, you lose again, like last season. Bravo and hats off to the Boston Bruins.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know what that was. I mean, cynically, you could say,
coaching.
okay, dead cat bounce, or maybe just some great coaching from Jim Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, you lose Patrice Bergeron, you lose David Krejci.
Yep.
No one in the NHL outside of Alexander Barkov, and I still maintain that Barkov is finished for Bergeron. No one's walking through that door to replace those guys.
No, that's right.
You do not.
You're right on.
And
you know what else? And you know what? Jeff hasn't brought this up, but I know he's thinking it. Swayman and Ullmark are a hell of a tandem. But when they're separated, I don't know if either guy's as good. And I've never asked you, and I'm curious on your take because I respect it so much. I don't like it when players have bad negotiations in this camp. I think that was a foul up for Swayman, and I think it's cost them this season. Really
it's costing the Bruins and it's cost Swayman. And listen, I think we all know what the story is there. Like that, there was some bitter feelings after arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the nature of arbitration. We all know about Salo sobbing in arbitration, like especially around the goaltending position. And I think there was some bitterness that carried over into this summer. I hear you about the tandem. More so, I think with Ullmark than with Swayman. Like I still think that there's a really good goalie there in Jeremy Swayman. I think he's an excellent goaltender. To your point, Pierre, man, you can't miss camp. You got to be on the ice. You got to be training. You got to be with your team. It's especially at that position. It is so tough. Ullmark to me is a fascinating case. There is no denying the Vezina Trophy. He was excellent that season. However, I don't know that there's a goaltender in the NHL that I look at who does less with this incredible amount of skill that he has. And I don't know what it is with Ullmark. I remember when he was playing at Rochester, and Rochester would play Utica. And I'd be getting these texts like, "You got to see what Ullmark is doing to Demko. This is insane. He's just toying with him at the other end of the ice.
Wow.
Like he has it. Ullmark can be that guy, but we've just never seen it in big pressure situations. He has top 5 goalie skill. Make no mistake about it. Top 5 goalie skill. But for whatever reason, when you need it in that big game, those big moments, it's never been there for Ullmark. He's a wonderful guy. I'm sure you both met him. He is a wonderful person, a delight to be around. You say, with all that skill, just give me some gamer. You know what I mean? Like, give me some gamer in there in big games, because it's whether it's Sweden or whether it's with the Buffalo Sabres or Rochester Americans or Boston Bruins and now the Ottawa Senators, we haven't seen it yet.
No.
We still haven't seen it.
I think a lot of people wondering that in Boston when he
he's a superstar. Let's let him go into the rink and watch.
We will. We will.
Hey,
go watch my kids skate around cones. Thanks.
I'm really happy for you. You're an amazing talent. You belong to be on a superior situation, and your future is amazingly bright.
You're a class act, Pierre. Always appreciate your friendship. Appreciate your friendship, Jimmy. You guys be well.
All right.
Buzz back anytime. We'll get it's the Grabowski Kuhlman show inside. Those are the two that are training the kids today. So this is all we need is Clark MacArthur to round out the line.
You know what? Those kids should go learn golf from Clark MacArthur. What a golfer he is.
I've heard. Yeah, Anthony Stewart's buddies with him. He's told me tons about him. Yeah.
He beats Michael Jordan up on the golf course.
I've heard the legend is long about Clark MacArthur Ryland. Trust me. All right, boys. You be well.
Great seeing you. Congratulations.
See you, boys. Be good.
Marek, join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. He's one of the best.
Superstar. He's a superstar.
I love him.
I'm telling you, and he's real loyal. And I worked with him for a short period of time, and I can't say enough good things about him. And you know what? People write stuff and say stuff, and they're wrong.
Yeah.
Just telling you.
Pierre, I'll tell you this too. One thing. There's a parallel I see between the two of you too. You guys have these amazing nuggets, the amazing info, and it's great. It's great for the listeners and the viewers. And that's one of the things that drew me to Jeff when we first became friends. I love talking to him about stuff. I'll be like, do you know that? Oh yeah, I know him. Yep, I know him. He knows everybody, and it's great. And the hockey world's small, but I've had some good chats over the years with Jeff, and he's always there too. Like, he's one of those guys in this business. It's hard. We're in a competitive business. One of those guys that will get right back to you. Everything good, Jim? Everything good?
He's an amazing parent.
Oh yeah, that's what I've heard.
We talked a lot about different things, raising children. I really respect
One of the
him.
ranks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got a lot of time for him. Being in the rink a lot too.
Interesting stuff. I kind of always thought that about Allmark, but I never really wrote about it or really looked into it. Like Jeff just expanded on there.
Yeah.
Stuff that he says, look, it's in there. Why isn't that intensity or that competitive spirit? Why does it go away in the playoffs? And what is up with that? And, Pierre, you and I have been talking about it. I mean, he's been on now 3 teams, and not just 3 teams, 3 Atlantic Division teams, which is very rare for a goalie, as you pointed out to me, Pierre.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up to you yesterday.
Yeah.
Buffalo, Boston, Ottawa, you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
You just don't, because if you're really at the upper echelon, team's not letting you go play for somebody else, or they're not trading you.
You're going to see that many times a year. Yeah.
Exactly. Potentially knock you out of a play. Hey, what happens if, let's just say, Ottawa gets on a roll here and he stimulates the roll and they kabong Boston out of the playoffs?
I know.
How's that going to go over?
Do you mind telling the story about the team? Who was it? Was it Scotty that said this guy can only play against us in the playoffs?
I'm not going to give you names.
Okay.
But there was a trade made many moons ago, and Scotty was really smart. He was in the meeting, and I'll never forget. It was a great lesson. He said, part of the trade is going to be a rider, and the rider is going to be that this player can't play against us when we play them, because it might affect our playoff position.
Because he'll be ripped up. Yeah.
And they lived by the trade rider.
Wow. You never see it today.
I don't know if he learned that from Sam Pollock. I don't know if he learned that from Frank Selke Sr. I don't know if he learned it from somebody else internally, maybe the late Ron Caron. I have no idea. Yeah. But it's the first time I'd ever heard of that. And I was like, that's really slick. That's so smart. And we were all looking at each other. We were definitely in Craig Patrick's office, and we were all looking at each other going, that is just so smart. That's way ahead of the curve.
Good stuff. Well, listen, we're getting short on time, so we got to get to our Q&A. But before we do that, we want to talk about the Friendship Four. As I said, this is the last live broadcast before we'll be over there in Dublin. So remember, the time changes, everyone. On Monday, we will be live from the Harry Lemon in Dublin, starting at 2 p.m. their time. So that's going to be 10 a.m. on the East Coast here. 9 a.m. on the East Coast here. So you want to remember that, mark it down. I'll tweet out the info nonstop until then. So just remember that if you're here in North America, you're on the East Coast where most of our viewers are, it's 9 a.m. your time on Monday. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, we're 4 to 6 from the Heart Bar in Belfast. So remember that difference there. You can watch us right around lunchtime at 11 a.m. over here for 2 days. And then the final day there on Thursday that we're broadcasting from the Harp, we will be 3 to 4 p.m. So you can see us at 10 a.m. on that day as well. Really looking forward to this. I was texting with Sarah Stanton of Cara Group Travel today. Her head's on a swivel, as you can imagine, because she's running 4 college hockey teams to get them over to Ireland and back with all the travel plans she has. So good luck to her. It's one of the hardest workers I've met, Pierre.
Oh, she's amazing. Sarah's amazing. Yeah. I can't wait to see her over there. By the way, I'll be doing an interview on Thursday in Belfast with one of the lead columnists there, Adam McKendry.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I think that'll come out on Friday. But I'm looking forward to that.
That's in the Belfast newspaper, Pierre?
Yeah. Mr. McHenry got in touch with me today, so I'm looking forward to doing that with him on Thursday before you and I have our last sojourn at the Hart Bar.
Good
so
stuff.
And hopefully he'll come over and be part of that. But they want to do a story about hockey in Ireland and the friendship for it. And so I'm really looking forward to that. It was very nice of them to reach out today.
Good stuff. All right. Well, let's get to it. And we're looking forward to that. And by the way, we do have Steve Thornton, confirmed, of the Belfast Giants, will join us next Wednesday live from the Hart Bar. So you want to check that out.
He'll be biased, though, because he's a BU guy.
He's going to go there. And
you'll be so biased, Jim.
Yeah. Him and Jay Pandolfo are going to be reuniting over there. So that'll be fun. Listen to some stories with them. But let's get to our great sponsor, Betway, here right now. You know them well by now if you watch our podcast here. The Betway is leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. If you're watching right now, you can hit that QR code right in front of you, or go to the website and you can sign up there. Remember, you must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly, which means lately, don't listen to me. I am now on an 8-day losing streak, Pierre. So this is it. If I lose tonight, you're not getting any more sick bets. But let's go to Murph's sick pick of the day. If we got it there.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Betway.
All right, we're going to keep it quick here. I'm going to go right to Boston. You know, I'm just going to buy into that whole theory that a new coach, they always come out flying in that first game. They always win. Usually they get that bump. But Pierre, I'm going to do two things here. I think they do come out flying. I like the Bruins. I love the Bruins in the first period, Pierre, but I don't like them for the whole game. So take the Bruins in the first period and the Utah Hockey Club to win the game. I think Utah comes back and takes it. I'm not sold on this roster. They could put, I won't say Scotty Bowman, but pretty close to a coach near Scotty Bowman, and I still wouldn't be sold on this roster because there are a lot of problems. I don't think it gets fixed overnight here. All right, let's get to the Q&A. Alex Ivanowski, I've been doing some research on rebuilds. Isn't it amazing how the Capitals could very easily have traded their first rounder in 2019? Great point, Alex. They were defending champs. That pick turned into McMichael. That's awesome catch by Alex.
Connor McMichael's a hell of a player for them. He can play as a first or second line center, and even as a third line center, because he can check, he can score, he can skate, and he's robust. Washington's done a good job. You know, I was talking to one of their scouts today, and they've done a really, really good job. I'm really impressed. And so remember the other day we were talking about, you know, Andre Tourigny, who's a coach of Utah, and what he had said, that it takes 7 to 11 years to rebuild the franchise, and there's no guarantee. And I told you, Jimmy, I just respectfully don't agree with him. I respect him a ton as a coach, and I like him very much as a man, but I don't agree with what he said on that. And Washington's a good example of that.
Washington's a great example, and Montreal will be as well. And quickly on McMichael there too, Pierre, the lessons and the experience he must have got too. And you pointed this out before here, playing in Hershey as well, with what a great program that is, the amount of playoff atmosphere he was in through his time there.
Yeah, one of my former players is a coach there, Todd Nelson. We had him in Pittsburgh. He was playing in Muskegon, but we did bring him up to play for us with the big team. And I knew right when I was doing practices down in Muskegon, going to work with players, I knew right away this guy was going to be more of a coach than a player.
Yeah,
because he just drug everything in. He just wanted to be part of it. He asked so many good questions. I really respect him as a guy, but he was a really good hockey professional when I had the opportunity to work with him.
All right, next question. Postnet on 130, Pierre and Jimmy, what is your feel on play-by-play TV commentator and color analyst, guys or girls, being a homer when calling a game instead of being impartial? I love Gord Miller calling it internationally, one of two. Do we have the second part there? If not, I'll start and we'll get right to that second part. Pierre, there we go. International games, Brian Murdoch, Bob Cole, and the great Danny Gallivan with Dick Irvin Jr. Not a fan of the Sportsnet Montreal crews. Pierre, my thing is, if you're strictly, doing it for a specific team, so like say Jack Edwards is a perfect example. He was off the wall, and he was definitely a homer, but that was his job, and I have no problem with that if it's for the team. Now, if you're going on Sportsnet National, TSN, ESPN, TNT, whatever you have, Prime, you got to stay neutral and objective no matter who the team is you usually cover or where you're from. You got to stay objective.
The ultimate sign of a great national broadcaster is if both sides are angry with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's not calling one or the other. He's calling it down the middle. And Gordon Miller's outstanding. I did 9 World Juniors with him. I think I did 3 Olympics with him. He's outstanding. He's in the International Hockey Hall of Fame for broadcasting. People don't know that. He's an elite broadcaster, but he was elite, especially with international events. Very, very good.
And I also, Pierre, like Jack is as crazy and much of a Bruins fan as he was. He never held back calling them out. Not always.
No, he was very firm but fair, I thought, Jack.
Exactly.
The only time, and Jack would probably be the first person to admit this,
mm-hmm.
he would get into trouble sometimes when he would make some of the charges personal. There were certain players he didn't like. There were certain coaches he didn't like. There were certain teams he didn't like, which is normal. That's how we all operate as humans.
Yep.
But sometimes he would just take it one bridge too far, and that's when guys would get mad at him.
Yeah.
And I told Jimmy a story, and we can't say who it was or how it happened, but a general manager called me up. I was on the road, and he called me up and he says, "I'm going in the box and I'm gonna kill him."
Talking about Jack Edwards, by the way.
Yeah. And I said, "Oh no, you're not." I said, "Sit down and put your phone away and don't say a freaking word." And he goes, "No, I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna kill him."
Yeah.
I said, "No, don't do it." And I said, "If you're ever gonna do it, don't call me because I don't want to be.
I don't want exactly. I don't want to be.
I don't want to be part of this." And I know he didn't obviously kill him, but I know they had words in between periods.
Yeah.
Which is better than physical stuff, obviously.
I'll tell you this, though, that I'll give him credit for, and you're right. Sometimes he did cross the line, but Pierre, he always owned it. I remember the thing with Pat Maroon, and he was, the next time Tampa came to town, he was the first one waiting for him at the game day skate, said, "I need to apologize to you. We got to talk." And that was that.
Hey, we've had Jack on this show,
yeah,
and he said some stuff about me, and I had no problem with it. And he and we have a great, I text with him. He texts me back. It's good. Like that.
And by the way, Jack, if you're watching right now, we're thinking of you too.
We always think of Jack, and only in good ways. And Jimmy, I'm just telling you, this is I know we got a lot of young hockey professionals that watch the show or listen when they're driving because they're going to scout events. And the only advice I would ever give anybody, don't take stuff personal. People are going to say stuff about you all the time.
Yeah.
You can't worry about it. It's just part of the business. Move on. Be above it.
Yep.
Just be above it.
Yep.
And if you see somebody that's criticized you and you don't like it, you don't have to scream and yell. Just take them aside and say, "Hey, look, do you really know me? Have we ever really talked? Let's sit down and have a coffee. Let's try to work this out."
Yep.
That doesn't happen enough.
No,
when I was a young guy coming up in the business, I was really fortunate. The older guys were so kind to me. And I'm talking about veteran scouts, older guys that really were kind. The late Alex Smart, Stanley Cup winner as a player with Montreal, worked out Ottawa, was a scout for LA forever and ever and ever. He was the nicest man in the world, and you could sit down and talk to him, and it was awesome, just awesome.
Yeah. And Pierre, another guy, speaking of that and just being able to go up and talk to him and, just to introduce myself, I forgot, and forgive me for doing it. Congratulations to Pierre Hood. I never mentioned it back on Hall of Fame weekend. Sure. I don't know him that well, but every time I've ever encountered him, it turns into a 5-minute conversation, and he's telling me stories or he's giving me advice, and just a gentleman, a true gentleman in the game.
And you know how good a broadcaster is in hockey? Like, he's really good in hockey. But I'm just going to tell you, go listen to him do an F1 race, a Formula One race in French.
I knew that. Okay.
Off the charts. That so many Sundays in the summer, I would listen to him do an F1 race with my wife in French, and he's so good at it. He's really, really good at it.
We'll pull that. Gabriel Lamb was the one who reminded me there. If you can see that post and pull it up, where he's talking about Pierre Hood being the GOAT. There you go. That's dead on.
Gabriel's probably not old enough, and Gabriel, if you are, I apologize, but I think if you were to ask Pierre Hood, he would tell you the same thing as I'm about to tell you. I don't think anybody was better than René Le Cavalier. Rene Lecavalier was, without a doubt, I think the best broadcaster in Canadian history. Forget English or French.
Wow.
He was Hockey Night in Canada on the French side. He worked with Gilles Tremblay for a lot of years, the late Gilles Tremblay, who, by the way, Gilles Tremblay is the first ever player as a Pittsburgh Penguin to score. He was with the Montreal Canadiens, and he's the first player to ever score in the Igloo. I think that's what it was, Gilles Tremblay. But Rene Lecavalier and Gilles on Saturday night when I was a kid, they were really good. And then Sundays, you put the transistor under your pillow and you listen to Danny and Dick to the game when the Canadiens are on the road. It was good. It was good.
GB saying Dick Irvin Jr. should be in the Sportscaster Hall of Fame, in my opinion. I'm surprised he's not. Oh, yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
He's in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And of course, you got to work with the American GOAT, Mr. Doc Emmerich.
Oh, yeah, the American GOAT. There's nobody passing him anytime soon. And I say it with all due respect to all my former partners, there's nobody like the Doc.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, how much does Tanev have to do with the Leafs' success? Randy, as we already said, yeah, we agree. Great observation by you.
Tons.
Yep. He's exactly the type of guy that fits in that Berube mold. All right. Next question. Postnet on 130. Could Suzuki become a Barkov, a Guy Carbonneau, or Jacques Lemaire?
No.
No?
No, that's not what his role is going to be. Barkov's different. He's 6'4". He's a huge guy. Carbo wasn't very big. Jacques Lemaire's not very big. He could be like Jacques. I don't think he could be like Carbo. Carbo's in the Hockey Hall of Fame for a reason. It wasn't because of his point out, but it's because of how great he was defensively. He was super elite defensively. And there's, I can't share a lot of what goes on. I can't share anything that goes on in the committee meetings, but I'll just tell you, Carbo was elite at what he did. I don't think Nick will ever be there defensively. I think Nick's a better offensive player than Guy.
What about Bergeron? Any chance he's never going to be Bergeron, but
I don't think he'll ever be the defense player that Bergie is.
Okay.
Nick's really good. Trust me. This is not a knock. We're talking about Hall of Fame players there.
Yeah, exactly.
The only guy that isn't going to, I don't know what's going to happen with Barkov long term. You got to have sustained, excellence to get in the Hall. But the only guy that's on that list that's not in is Jacques Lemaire.
Yeah.
As a player, he's in as a builder, but he's not in as a player.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'm a big fan. I love his game, Nick Suzuki. All right, next question. Alex, what do you make of David Jiricek with Columbus and the situation going on with management? Do you think they work it out, or is a trade likely? Do you still see top D-man potential? This is a mystery, this situation, Pierre, and you and I really haven't touched on it. Obviously he's down in the minors right now in the AHL. And, he apparently had a great talk with the coach, with with Dean Evison. But he is a mystery. This kid was supposed to be really good, and it just can't seem to put it together.
I think the pace is something that's causing problems for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the thing he's going to have to pick it up. He's going to have to accelerate the pace of his game. I do think Donnie Waddell is going to be really proactive there this year. They've got a lot to work with.
Yeah.
And so that will be interesting to see.
And he's not a Waddell guy, obviously.
No, he was drafted by Jarmo Kekalainen and Ville Sarin. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think the one thing, if there was one professional criticism I would give is just he needs to adjust to the pace of the game a little bit better.
So maybe this will be good to go down and
play. I think it actually is going to be good for him to go down there.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, which game are you and Pierre watching tonight, Jimmy? Well, I'm always watching.
He's watching.
Yeah, I'm always watching the Bruins.
Boston.
You guys know that. But, I mean, I'm like, Pierre. I mean, he's taught me to bounce around. I've got about 3 computers going usually. So I'll be bouncing around looking at a lot of different games. But, yeah, I'll be focused in on the Bruins in Utah.
I got 2 that I'm going to focus in on. Carolina and Jersey, Rangers at Calgary.
Ooh, I like Carolina and Jersey.
Those are my 2. I really wanted to try to watch Minnie in Edmonton, but I don't want to do short shift on Calgary and the Rangers tonight.
And, we were talking about them earlier, Pierre. Can the Senators take advantage of the Golden Knights playing last night and coming in?
Well, they better, because you know what? They didn't the other night with Edmonton.
Exactly.
I'm just telling you, Jimmy.
Great minds think alike. I was just going to say that. Do they lose 2 straight to a team coming off a back-to-back? And that's not good.
I don't know. But I'm going to tell you right now, like, I'm an Ottawa guy, okay? I like Ottawa. I loved working there. I worked there 2 different times in my career, and I'm the one that chose to go there. I had other options to go to other places. I'm the one that chose to go to Ottawa because I really respect the community, and I thought the team had a chance to really grow. I'm getting really disappointed with what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah.
I am.
I'm with you, Pierre. It's worrisome because this was, even if they didn't make the playoffs, at least they're there in the end playing meaningful games. And right now, I can't see that. They're in a negative.
If they want to play those meaningful games, they better get on their horse and get going here.
Yep, for sure. All right, next question. Sound the siren. Guys, the college hockey scholarship scenario is something that should strongly be looked at. Please don't let this issue die off. This is important.
We agree. You know what? I love hearing from Sound the Siren.
Yeah, he's great.
Very smart hockey people down there in Raleigh. And no, it is a serious issue. I think, Jimmy, we might have been right at the forefront of bringing this up to all of our viewers and listeners. It is a very important issue.
Yeah.
Hugely important.
All right. I think this is our final question. Go right ahead. What do we got? Alex Evanowski again. I know it's early, but how good is Gavin McKenna projected to be prospect-wise for next year? Are we talking Crosby, McDavid, Bedard level, or like Hughes, Power, Slav level? I don't know. I think the sky's the limit with this guy, Pierre, and I'm not trying to hype a kid up that much because I don't think that's fair, but man, I'll tell you, I've shown highlight reels to my daughter who doesn't watch hockey nearly as much as us, to other people that are, average hockey fans, so to speak, and like, if that kid's in the NHL, I'll be watching. And they're already saying that about it.
Jimmy knows that's my pony, not for this summer, but for the next summer. Yeah. I'll say this. I'm never going to say a guy's going to be Crosby because I think that's grossly unfair.
Yeah.
There are a lot of similarities. It's like what I used to say about Celebrini. Celebrini reminds me of Jonathan Taves.
Yep.
The only difference is I think Celebrini scores more easily than what Jonathan did. Jonathan was more of a distributor. He scored, but he distributed more. Right. I think Macklin scores more. And Macklin shot on the one-timer on the right side on the power play. I'm just telling you, that's lethal.
But McKenna, I mean,
he's that's my point. I don't want to say that he's going to be better than Sid, but are there similarities? The answer's yeah.
And Pierre, I'm sure, and we'll wrap it up here, but you scouted so much over your life. There's obviously kids, and I'm not saying, again, we're not putting this on the Crosby level, but let's just say there's kids, when you watch them the first few times, they have that it. Like, they have that it factor. And, like you just can tell sometimes this kid's special.
There's some, though, they get overhyped.
Yeah.
What we're talking about now, I think. Yep. And they don't ever meet it, and the career is nowhere near as good as it could have been because the guys get broken.
Yeah.
And that's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really sad to see. It's tough to pick the pieces up from that, too. I'm just telling you. It's really to this day, there's one player that I saw a ton of, Ryan Getzlaf. Okay? Mm-hmm. Played for the Calgary Hitmen. He's a kid from Regina. His brother played in the CFL.
Yep.
You could ask a lot of people, and they would tell you maybe the Hickey brothers. Now we're going back in the 50s, okay, who played for Regina. Maybe the Hickey brothers were the best all-around athletes after Gordie Howe that ever came out of Saskatchewan.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better athlete than Ryan Getzlaf coming out of the province of Saskatchewan.
Wow.
And look at the career that he had. And he could have played CFL. His brother did. Uh-huh. I guarantee you could have played Major League Baseball if he wanted to. He did play in the NHL forever, over 1,000 games.
Won a cup.
And look where he was drafted. Like, he slipped so much, and I'm like, what happened? How did that happen? Now, I know he's in probably the best draft of all time, the 2003 draft, but you go look at it, you're like,
it's amazing.
How did he slide so much? And he and Perry went to Anaheim in the same draft.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, to be fair, it's like that kind of re-energized that whole Anaheim Duck team.
Yeah. Oh, I apologize. Randy's reminded me. I forgot to mention that trade today with Regina and somebody else.
Regina and Calgary.
Yeah, Regina and Calgary. If they can pull that up, I don't know if they find it there, but yeah, Pierre. I mean, that's the one thing I guess as he goes forward because he's already being projected as a number one 2 years down the line. He's going to need people around him to kind of.
I think he's okay that way because when I watched him last year, he's playing U18 World Championship. I wasn't there. I was watching on TV, and I could see, even though he was flying around, you could see there's a humility to him. Like he wasn't acting like a smarty pants. There's
the trade right there, Tanner Howe trade from the Pats to the Hitmen. So I'll mention that to Jeff. I'm sure he was breaking it, knowing him.
Oh, Marek, yeah, no, he's on
he's
that
so
stuff.
Tied in with the junior level. Oh.
He's always working it. I think Jeff's outstanding. Like I said, I wasn't kidding. Like I said it right to his face. You're a superstar, dude. He is. He's a superstar.
Yes. Well, it was great of him to join us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Thanks to our production crew as well. And Pierre, we are off to the Friendship 4. So we will talk to everyone here in our viewers and listeners section from Dublin on Monday at 2 p.m. there and 9 a.m. here in the East Coast. Until then, this has been another edition of the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.